What is up, bros and broettes? I am Inkslasher, and welcome to another episode of Infinite Warfare 5 Things. I know these normally go up on Saturdays, but unfortunately I've just been insanely busy, and it actually took me a really long time to edit this video and get it the way I wanted it to be. So if you could leave a like rating, it would be really fantastic. I really do appreciate it, and as always, it really does help with the video and more specifically the channel. So if you like the video, it would be fantastic if you could hit that like button. But today we're talking about score streaks. Now, if you remember in Black Ops 3, one of the best ways to take down score streaks was with specialist weapons. Now, we don't technically have specialist weapons in this game, however, we do have payloads with our rigs. Now, today we tested out several different types of payloads and payload weapons against score streaks to see which ones were actually good. And I think you'll be a little bit surprised in many different ways. So the first payload I wanted to look at against score streaks is probably one of the most used ones in the game, and it is the claw. So as far as the claw goes, it's interesting when it comes to score streaks because it's great against some and horrible against others. Basically, the further a score streak is away from you, the worse the claw does, because you can't really aim down sights with it. You can only tighten the spread. So, for example, against the Thor, it's actually too high up in the air for you actually to hit it with the claw. Similarly, the Warden, it can hit the Warden, but it doesn't do great against the Warden. If you use a full claw clip against a Warden, it takes about 75% of the health away from the full Warden's health. Now, where the claw does well is against ground-based score streaks or close score streaks. So like a sentry gun, or one that it does really well against is the Apex. You can actually take out the full health of an Apex with one round of the claw, which is a very good use for it because the Apex is actually pretty damn difficult to get. Similarly, it works like this with the Vulture, or like I said, any close proximity or ground-based score streak. So almost identical to the claw, the equalizer is almost exactly the same. So against ground-based score streaks, it does really well, including the Apex and the Vulture. However, against the Warden, it's exactly like the claw, where it takes about 75% away from the total health, and then you can take it out using something else. The one difference between these two weapons is against the Thor. The equalizer, you're actually able to hit the Thor, and it does a pretty good amount of damage to it. It takes about 50% of the total Thor's health away from it, and then once again, you could take it down using something else altogether, either your weapon, explosion, something along those lines. So I would say that so far, these two payloads are not amazing at taking out score streaks, but they're pretty good. They do decent damage to them, and they're definitely a viable option. However, back in Black Ops 3, the best way to take out score streaks was with the Annihilator, and the version of the Annihilator in Infinite Warfare is FTL's Eraser. Unfortunately, in Infinite Warfare, that is 100% not the case. Using the Eraser just against a UAV alone, it takes 6 shots of the Eraser to eliminate the UAV. If you're using it against something like the Thor, it doesn't even deal half of the damage with a full magazine of the Eraser to the Thor whatsoever. It's absolutely garbage against score streaks, and I don't recommend using it against score streaks at all. However, against soldiers, it does a lot of damage. So if you want to use it against people, great use of it. If you want to use it against score streaks, horrible idea. So similarly to the Eraser, another one that's not so great against score streaks is the Ballista. So the thing with the Ballista is every time you pull the trigger with the Ballista, 3 bullets actually come out of it. Now, when you're shooting at a soldier, normally all 3 bullets lock on to the soldier in a specific location. However, when you're shooting the Ballista at a score streak, it doesn't lock on whatsoever. So the bullets kind of all go in separate directions and deal less damage because they're not all hitting one singular spot. So for example, against the Thor here, it only does, once again, about half the damage of the total Thor, which is meh. Alright, similarly with other score streaks, it does pretty much the exact same thing. If it was to lock on to score streaks, it might be a little bit better, but that's really hard to say and really hard to compare because it doesn't do that. But that might be maybe in a patch in the future that the Ballista locks on to score streaks. I think that would be a pretty good element to add in, but I guess only time will tell about that. However, by far the worst payload to take out score streaks is the Gravity Vortex. First of all, against something like the Thor, the Gravity Vortex cannot go high enough to actually hit the Thor. Against other score streaks, the way it works is once the Gravity Vortex actually hits or makes contact with the score streak, it does not deal any damage to it whatsoever. Eventually, the Gravity Vortex explodes, and that does a very, very small amount of damage to the score streak. But we're talking such a small amount of damage to the score streak that it's almost negligible. This is also what happens for ground-based score streaks. As we can see here, against a sentry gun, it almost does nothing to the sentry gun whatsoever. And again, it's not on contact, it's upon eventual explosion, of the gravity vortex itself. Next up, we've got the Steel Dragon, and the Steel Dragon is once again pretty crappy against Scorestreaks. Even against a Warden, the Steel Dragon can't actually shoot high enough to actually make contact with the Warden. On top of that, against ground-based Scorestreaks, if we look here against the Apex, it can't even kill an Apex with a single magazine. Remember using the Claw, how we could kill it using a single magazine? The Steel Dragon can't even do that, and it takes a lot to actually kill the Apex even after a full round of the Steel Dragon. So the next one I was just curious about. I didn't think it would work, but I was curious about it, and that is the Bull Charge. I wanted to see if the Bull Charge did any damage whatsoever to ground-based Scorestreaks. Against the Sentry Gun, it does nothing. You literally run straight through the Sentry Gun like it wasn't even there. However, it does block the bullets it fires at you. Similarly with the RC8, you could block its bullets, only 2 of the bullets, but you could block them, and then once you eventually ran into the RC8, it did next to no damage. It gave you a hit marker, however, it didn't really do any damage to the RC8 whatsoever. So the one I actually finally wanted to talk about was the one that did way better than I thought it was going to, and that is Reaper, the robot dog. That is right. So against a Sentry Gun, Reaper takes out a Sentry in 3 melee hits. It takes out a Vulture in 1 melee hit, and it's so strong that it can actually both take out an RC8 and an Apex, both of them, which is absolutely insane. Of course, you can't do anything against airborne Scorestreaks because you're a robot dog. However, against ground-based Scorestreaks, this thing is amazing. Like I said, against a Sentry Gun, 3 hits, against a Vulture 1, which was really shocking, and then against an Apex, it's actually pretty possible to do on an Apex because you kind of glitch around when you lock onto the Apex, simply because it's a flying Scorestreak, your character's kind of floating and it's very odd. However, against that RC8, it is possible to kill the robot. However, if it uses its shield whatsoever, the shield blocks your melee hits, so you got to get behind him, and even at that point, it takes so many melee hits that all he has to do is turn around and shoot his weapon once and it kills you. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a good way to take out the RC8. All I'm saying is that it's possible. So overall, what we've learned in this episode is that payloads are definitely not the best way to take out Scorestreaks in this game. In fact, compared to Black Ops 3, they're pretty damn shitty, considering in Black Ops 3 you could take an Annihilator and destroy a mothership within 3 bullets of it. So comparatively, you can take FTL's Eraser and shoot a UAV 6 times and take it out. A UAV. So there's a massive difference there. So of course, there's definitely better ways of taking out Scorestreaks than payloads. However, now you know exactly how each payload will interact with many different Scorestreaks. So guys, if you enjoyed the video and like what you saw, it'd be fantastic if you could hit that like button. It really does help out the channel, and it's really appreciated. Also, you can check out my Twitch, Twitter, Let's Play channel, all of that crap down in the description. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard.